Today's video is definitely going to be different. What I'm going to talk about is how I'd actually start another 7-figure SaaS company, software as a service company, from scratch. In theory, it's easy. It's not enough to just do your work and hopefully you'll grow. You can do a lot more than you actually believe. The other day, I was having dinner with a friend of mine, and we're talking business and stuff, and he's not an entrepreneur. And he said, like, what if you lost it all today? Like, if you were to start over, what would you do? Like, would you know what to do? And I told him, like, yeah, I know exactly what to do. And he asked me, like, so what's the business you would start? And I was like, I have no clue. And to me, that makes sense because I don't know exactly what business I would start, right? I don't know exactly what that product would be or what that business would be, but I know exactly what model I would go through, what steps I would go through, where I 100% would figure out this is the business I want to go and this is how I scale it towards 7 figures. And what I want to do in this video is just be a bit creative together here on YouTube or wherever you're watching this to map that out, because I think you'll find it useful. So the very first thing I would 100% do is to pick an audience. I would definitely pick a specific audience, and way more narrow than I've always done prior when I started businesses. And obviously this should be an audience that you enjoy working with, I would say as well. And ideally also a customer, type of customer that actually have money to spend. Very important as well, right? Because like if I were to lose it all today, I would literally just get on the phone with people. And this is coming from a guy who hates calling. Like, you can ask anyone around me, my wife, my team, I don't enjoy calls. But I've learned over time that this is where the gold is hidden. You cannot get that stuff with a survey. You cannot get that stuff from reading from a forum or a Facebook group. But essentially, it's really just like I would give myself a period of time where I would just really absorb myself in a certain industry, in a certain market, in a certain audience, talking to people. And yes, I would also listen to podcasts, read books. I would really immerse myself. That is when cracks start to appear. What I mean with a crack is like, little opportunities like, hey, these are like things that people sometimes have just accepted that don't have to be that way. Could be that they're all using a certain tool, but like it's just way too expensive. Could be that they're doing something manual, which could just be automated. Have an open mind essentially, and you'll automatically start to see patterns. In the past, when I founded other businesses, I've often started things that I could sell, right? Things I could market, things that would sexy to market, right? If I were to start over, I would 100% start with a problem. Like, for example, a dentist doesn't have to try hard to sell. People, if they have toothache, they will come to the dentist and they will get it fixed. They will get it done. It doesn't matter what the price is. So ideally, I want to find a problem that is painful to them. One that they're willing to pay big money to solve. So at this point, all we have is like, we've done research in a certain market, figure out what the patterns are, find out the big problem, right? And when I say the big problem, in theory, it's easy. In reality, it's going to be like, oh, maybe it's that, maybe it's that. You'll have different ideas of what it may be, right? But you don't want to keep on dwelling too long in that so much. So what I would then do is literally just offer people to solve that problem. Can I help you? Even if it's not paid, it doesn't matter. If you do that together, like do that I'm not saying for a lot of people, just 2 or 3, 4 people, you would immediately figure out like what is it really like to solve that problem? Can you actually resolve it? And this could be something that you'll have to do manually. This could be literally a service. Like if I were to start a SaaS company, I would not start building any code whatsoever. I would try to do and stitch things together as low code or no code as possible. At this point, all I want to figure out, can this be resolved in some way, shape, or form, with maybe some part of that automation involved as well. What would be very important to me is the way I would resolve that problem. In the past, I would have said like, hey, a SaaS tool is purely software that would solve that problem, right? These days, I do not believe that anymore. Purely SaaS is essentially in a race to the bottom. Like the barrier to entry is getting lower and lower. So just having a tool that you just click a couple times and it will produce a certain outcome is not enough. You also need to have a model. Like, what is your unique way of solving that problem? This comes down to like some kind of know-how or like some kind of information that you would have. So like, for example, in my current business, Viral, we help businesses get referrals, right? Like essentially it's a platform where you can run viral contests, viral giveaways, all kinds of viral marketing campaigns where your audience would then invite their friends and to join your business as well. And they come in, they enter their name and email address, and then they can do the same thing. They get an incentive like, hey, if you invite your friends over, you get more. But our platform is not just about the technology to make that happen. We also know exactly how we actually make sure that happens. We train our audience, we train our customers on that, so that it's not just about the tool, but it's about the model that we know, like if you follow these steps, that's how we would do it. And then because we have a model that we know works and we've tested them over and over again, our platform is much more valuable. So step number one is really just to also write it down, the research, right? Research. And then step number two is to really, like, once you figure out that problem, is to solve that problem manually, right? And then step number three is to figure out, while you're doing it, what is the model, right? What is a way that you could then solve that at scale? What if, because if you're doing that for a couple of clients, maybe on client one, you take this path, oh, you need to do that, you need to do that, you need to do that, right? And then someone else, it's going to be different. But what is the overlying path that people would go from, like, this is the starting point, this is the end point? Could be a decision tree. Could be like, hey, if this is the case, you do that. If this is the case, you do that. But you start building your IP. You start building that model of what that actually is, or how you get customers from, like, having this problem to the actual result. Because then once you have that model, and once you know exactly how to solve it, yes, that's when you can start building your SaaS business. And I would literally, before even build the platform, I would go back to those customers and I would screen share that, or like let them show it and let them walk through it, like, and just let them talk to see if it would actually make sense. And this seems like a mundane thing to do and takes time, but it would make your product, first of all, way better. Plus, it would actually save you a bunch of time to actually build it all out as well. That's when you can hire a team. And when you hire a team, one of the first things I would now hire is a UX UI designer. Like in the past, I've always started with the technical side of things. Right now, once I know exactly what I want, right, and I've worked with clients, I would start hiring a UX designer, UI designer, to build the flow of, like, how it would be. At that point, you have figured out, like, a rough model. Still tons of things to improve on. Like, you don't know the perfect answer to everything yet. The structure I would strive towards is the following. I would not purely have a SaaS business. I would not purely have, like, hey, pay me $100 a month and you can use this tool. I would actually have different layers, because as I mentioned, just having a SaaS is a race to the bottom. I believe that having SaaS in combination with a human aspect, right? So essentially, like, it almost becomes like an agency, but like 95% of it is automated, right? Then all of a sudden you can charge way more. And the way I would actually model my business, I would not all do it in the same time. Like, I would have a done for you, I would have a group coaching, and I would have your main SaaS, and I would have a front end offer. And personally, I'm a big fan of creating products. So I would tend to start here. If I would put emotions aside and if I would be smart, I would probably go a little bit here, because if you do this a couple times done for you, you'd really start dialing in. What I would personally do, again, not the perfect way to do it, but I would definitely then, once I've done it a couple times, start with the SaaS, because I love that. Like, I just love creating a good product, right? And I would start building the actual platform to help customers solve that problem, to get rid of that certain problem. But I know that a percentage of people will want to have more help. And this is where like a group coaching comes in, because SaaS is like do it yourself, right? They'll have to go into the platform, do it yourself. This is where they get some kind of help from you, or from a trained coach that you have. Let's say your SaaS is $100 per month, right? For example, this could easily be, maybe between 5 and 10K, right? But obviously you need to get people into the door as well. And usually for any kind of SaaS, if you solve a problem, there are people that are aware of the problem, they have that problem, and you can market them, you can get them straight into your SaaS. There's also a lot of people who don't fully know about the problem you have, or they're not aware that they can resolve that in your way. For example, again, talk about a viral, like we help customers get more leads. A lot of businesses know they need more leads, but they wouldn't be looking for a viral because they don't think about referral marketing just yet. They haven't been trained for that, right? So that's where front-end offer comes into play. By consuming this front-end product, the only logical conclusion they could draw from that is to actually like, hey, I need that platform. And then if they have that platform, like they can all do it themselves, they would also realize like, hey, like maybe I want to get there faster, like a percentage of the customers want to get there faster, want to train their team faster, boom, I'll spend some more. There's group coaching, and there's obviously people who want it done for you. That would just be for your most premium customers, right? And a front-end offer would be like could even be like a $10 book just to qualify people that they do pay. And the reason why I believe in this model so much is because these days, especially when you run ads at scale, because that's one of my channels that I want to rely on as well, you cannot bring the cost down of your ads too much, right? Like ads are going to be expensive. So rather than focusing, how do I get my ads to be cheaper? How do I get that the conversion to be better? Sure, you need to do that. On top of that, what if you just make your average LTV much higher, right? And during the first year, whenever you launch new SaaS, churn is going to be relatively high because there's still like crap ton to do to actually lower your churn. So that's why I probably do like a founding offer where instead of saying $100 per month, I'm just gonna make them a great offer, like a yearly deal, right? If I know a percentage of people are gonna pay that, right? And then a percentage of people are gonna pay whatever you charge for done for you, right? Your LTV is going to go up, and you can then outspend other people that are also selling maybe a $10 book. And this to me is like the perfect business model, right? Because you have your core product, which is recurring. This is what's going to make it easy to grow your business in terms of hiring more staff. Like I started hiring more people once I figured out how to actually get recurring in, because all of a sudden the team costs money, right? And if you don't have any recurring, and then every month you'll need to make a certain amount of sales to keep on paying your team, and that can be stressful. By having this as the core machine into your business, having this recurring element, right, you can pay your whole team from that. And then on top of that, like this is where you lose money on, which is fine. Like on the front end, you're just, $10 book, for example, and you'll have some upsells to increase the average cart value right here. So maybe from a $10 book, you make $30, right, initially, but you may be paying $50, which is fine because a certain percentage is going to go in here. Maybe average lifetime value for like just the subscription is going to be over time is going to be, let's say, $2,000, right? And you have your group coaching where again, a certain percentage of people are going to pay that, so that adds to the LTV and then also the done for you. In this way, like this is literally what I just summarized in this video, is like how I would start my new business. Obviously, one thing that is very important is that came up with the conversation I had with my friend as well, is that he wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he was always waiting for the perfect idea. I think that's very risky because that perfect idea is never gonna be there. I know exactly what steps I need to take to figure it all out. But here's the kicker. I also know that whatever I imagine to happen up front is not what is going to happen. So I know exactly what the plan is, but somewhere along that path, somewhere along that way, I will figure out something that's like, this is like way better. And as a result of that, like half of it might be gone by that time, and that's fine. But if not, this is currently, but like what I see is the perfect business. Things are going to change. Like, there's very few businesses who have started as like, hey, I have this idea, and that is what I am going to build, and that is what became this big business. Usually, it's like, hey, I have this idea, I'm really very excited, I'm going to build it, and then along the way, what? And you see something else, like some spin-off business, and that is where the magic is happening, because you didn't figure it out. But it only happens because you're in movement. It only happens because you are doing things, and that's why when I start again, I would focus, I would talk to people, help them resolve that problem, because at that time there's a good chance you think you have a problem that you're like, hey, I want to solve that problem for that customer, for that type of customer, and then you start resolving that, and maybe you find that it's too easy to solve, or there's already too much competition out there, like whatever it is. But guess what? At that point, you haven't spent a lot of money on hiring developers or getting a SaaS platform built, which takes time, right? Simply put, it takes time. So then you can go back to the drawing board right away, jump on more calls, and then next week you can try out something else. It's going to require hard work, but hey, that's how great businesses are built. So that's what I got for all of you today. If you like this video, please drop it down in the comments, and I'd actually love to know which part or which tip was most helpful to you in this particular video, because obviously there were a lot of different elements as part of it. So with that, drop down a comment below, and I'll talk to y'all soon. All right, cut, we're done here. Let's wrap it up. Oh, well, sorry, you're still there. Well, in that case, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my channel where I share marketing tips, tricks, and strategies that will help you grow your business faster. So you can click on the subscribe button right now or check out the next video. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.